it's just really, really nice kind of, getting a small group of like-minded people who think, this is exciting as much as Artemis and I think this is really going to be a fun project as well. So I thought we should get together to kind of get a good sense of what this project is going to be like. And then think about our roles as teachers, in this mix, right? So I'm going to take the next, I know we all have busy stuff, so, we'll try to get through this as quickly as possible, but just kind of so that we all leave with a sense of, okay, this is how I'm thinking this project is going to go. But of course, there's always variability because we're working with human beings. So just a little bit in case, you don't, I know Artemis is more connected with all of you all. I'm just getting into this community right now. So my name is Persis Driver. I am in the Chicagoland area. And so I've been here for 20 years now. And I've been with the Chicago Center for a long time. We've kind of redesigned the curriculum here. We made it more developmentally appropriate. And that's where Artemis and I sort of met, and because I think we both had the same goals of making religious education more developmentally appropriate for different kids at different levels. But one of the things that I've always been very sort of keen on is that religious education has to build a sense of identity. And of course, I'm a PhD in educational psychology. So I teach at Dominican University. And most of my work is about, developmental psychology, educational psychology. So it's a lot of identity building work that I do in my professional life and teach in my professional life. And especially with our community and our kids, I mean, that is just so critical. So I know we all think about that. And so that's how this project came about. This idea that as our kids tend to get older, especially as they get into the high school years, life takes over, extracurriculars take over, just so much takes over that they really need something meaningful in order to stay connected with the community beyond religion class. And we saw that with our high schoolers at Chicago as well, is that every time we would have projects where they could contribute, right, where they could design things and facilitate things and lead things, I mean, that's what keeps them coming back. And so this oral history project is one little kind of project that we hope can help our teenagers stay connected to their communities, not just within the cities that they're in, but the larger Zoroastrian community, right? So that's where the project comes from. And then I think, we had a meeting before, so you have a sense of what this project is. So today is more logistics, right? So let me show you something. I'm going to just share my screen with you for a minute. Artemis, will you let me do that? What I have done is I have created a Canvas. Canvas is a site that a lot of universities use, right? And so I have created a Canvas site for our intergenerational oral history project. So what I will do is I will enroll all of you all in this project, and I'll make you teachers in this project, right? So that you can have access to, you will have access to everything that's happening in this project. The reason why I like this is because this will help all of us kind of be on track with what's happening, especially because we are also dispersed all across North America. So this site is password protected. So what will happen is immediately after this call, and I'm going to just request that if you could put your full name and email address that you would like me to use in the chat right now, that would be very helpful. So I will then add you all to the site, and you will get an email from Canvas asking you to log in. It's free. They will not ask you for any information. All you have to do is set a password. And that means that every time you want to look at what's happening in the project, what's going on, what are the deadlines, what's happening, all you'll have to do is just log into this website, and everything will be right here. Because it's password protected, it'll be only us who will be able to log in. And then I will, once the youth have sort of committed and said, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm going to be part of this project, I'll add those high schoolers and middle schoolers, whoever is participating in here as well. Right? So this will just be a site for us to manage everything that we are doing. So when you log into the site, this is what you're going to see. This is just basically the front page. And everything that we will be doing will be right here where it says modules. Once you click on that, it's going to take you, it's like Google Classroom that, most kids are used to using. I just like this a little bit more because it's I can control it a little bit more. And so right here, you will notice that everything that we ever do in this project, I'm going to keep putting it here. So if you ever need to refer to anything, if you ever need to think back, whether it's a video, whether it's, whatever it is, all the notes, all the training, everything will be right here. So it'll always be accessible to all of us if we ever need to see it. So just, quickly, I put this together just for us so that if once you're in, you can kind of play around with this a little bit. The very first link here talks about the purpose and the rationale. And this is something that we've talked about, and obviously you all think that this is valuable. So, you can take a look at it for a minute, but this is what might be interesting to you. This is how I am envisioning the project will go, but I'm looking for your guidance and collaboration on thinking about this a little as well, so that you might be able to tell me, where things might be missing or where we could be doing better. So this is how I envision the project process, right? March is when we've identified our students, and we've done this. Like we kind of know who's going to be part of it. This is not like we want to make sure anybody who wants to participate is part of the project. So doesn't matter, there's no hard and fast, like, no, now we can't add more students. It's an ongoing thing. Let's make sure anybody who wants to do it does it. So, but I think we've got a good set of kids. Like we've got at least 20, 25 kids I call them kids, but the teenagers who have said they'd be interested in doing that. So I'm really excited about this project. April is when we're doing the orientations, right? So we're meeting right now as teachers, and then I'm going to be meeting with all the high schoolers next weekend, right? And the goal with these orientation meetings is just to sort of get to know each other a little bit, get to know the program, get to know, understand what the responsibilities will be, and then kind of just so that you can make an educated decision about, yes, I'm going to do this for the next year because that's how long it's going to take. May and June is going to be training. Now, my hope is that I'm talking to a lot of professionals in the field. I can do most of this training because, like I said, I'm a qualitative researcher. That's what I do. Those are the kinds of classes that I teach. But I want our youth to be connected and learn from a lot of different professionals in the field. So I'm trying to get people who can, give our youth some real good professional training, right? And these trainings will be anything from about an hour to maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on, how long that training might be. But we are looking at about 3 to 4 training sessions, sometime across May, June, maybe even moving into July, right? But before we send our high schoolers out into the field, like we've got to talk to them. Now, training, right? What is this training going to be? Of course, it's going to be about logistics. So it's going to be about how do you interview individuals, and I want them to facilitate the project. As a result, we are going to be meeting and coming up with questions together, right? I want them to design the questions. I want them to think about the knowledge and the information that would be valuable to the community and to them, all of those things. So I will be working with them to create an interview protocol. I will be working with them to train them on how to conduct interviews. And so they will get a really good holistic training on how to do this, the process, the archiving process, the technology they will use, all of those things. But that's the logistic, that's the easy part of it. The thing that's actually more exciting to me is that this is not just something that we want the youth to do because we want to preserve stories, right? I mean, yes, but anybody can do that. The point is that we want our youth through this process of doing this to develop a stronger identity and connection to their own histories, right? And that doesn't naturally happen either. So I want them to get a kind of training in thinking about how powerful stories can be, in thinking about how these stories that they are hearing are connected to their own sense of self. And so that's the kind of training that a lot of times, high schoolers don't get this kind of training. So I want them to be connected with, our professionals in the field who can help them think about this project, not just from a lens of what can it contribute to community, but what can it contribute to me as a Zoroastrian, right? As towards my identity. So all of this will be happening with them. So I really see this as such a valuable project for them because they'll be learning all these skills. And everybody loves working with teenagers. So that's not a problem. So a lot of training, right, in these months. And I know that high schoolers, my son is a high schooler, he's a junior this year. And so it's difficult, it's tricky, tons of things to do, and then AP exams and this and that. So we're going to go slow right now. That's the reason why we sort of said, okay, let's hold on. But then June, once school is done, is when we'll really kind of pick it up, right? So that's when all the training will happen. So up until now, my hope is that as teachers, you're going to be playing a much more supervisory role, right? Like encourage the students to go for training, maybe having conversations with them about what they're learning in these trainings. And we'll talk more about that as well. But right now as teachers, the role is much more supervisory. Once these trainings happen, this is where I'm going to need a lot more help. Because we can train our high schoolers and we can kind of think about, all of these things, but they're going to need more help to identify participants, right? Like, who is it that they would like to interview? Now, sometimes that might be as easy as my grandparents, but sometimes it might not be as easy as my grandparents. It might be somebody else. You might know people in the community who would be great individuals to interview, right? And so that's where I think the biggest help we are going to need is helping your youth find those participants to interview, and then helping them set up logistically, right? Just set up those meetings so that they're not kind of just doing this by themselves. And I think that's where managing a lot of this is going to be, we're going to need a lot more help from the teachers, especially because everybody's going to be so dispersed out. So I envision the whole summer kind of being the time that these interviews will happen. Some might even go into fall, totally fine, right? As and when the kids have time and as and when they're ready, that's when we want them to go and do the interview. And then once we have a good collection of these interviews, we will then work with the youth to allow them to sort of edit, synthesize information, archive it. And I'm looking at there's so many different places we could be archiving this, So we are looking at different ways to do that. But I want the kids to lead the technology side of it as well, because they're so much more creative than I think we can be. So they know, how to edit these things. They know how to work with these things. So again, they'll work with somebody in the field to make sure that these are archived in a way that they can be really interesting, exciting, and worth it, right? So this will it'll take as long as it takes. It doesn't matter, right? Some will get done earlier, some will get done later, but I'm really envisioning this as a whole year-long process that will keep going on and on. The last thing that I would like to say is that because this project can spiral much very quickly out of hand, in order to manage it and make sure that it's actually manageable, I think we're going to focus this first round of interviews. We're going to focus it on what we call the diasporic memories, right? So we really are looking for participants who have stories of movement that they can share, right? So, I'll be talking about this with the youth very quickly, but just laying this out. So when we talk about a diaspora, we're really talking about all of these things, right? We're talking about movement, migration, which could be because, for so many different reasons. We're talking about memories, like collective memories of a group. We're talking about how connections are made within a group. We're talking about how a North American center might have been built, right? These are all diasporic memories that we want to preserve. So having this single theme is going to, I think, make our project a lot more manageable, because that will also help us decide who we can interview for this first round. Right. And then I'm envisioning, like, next year, we might take a whole different theme and go with that. And then the year after that, we might take a whole different theme and go with that. Because just like I said, I think it'll just make things manageable. So I'll let me pause here and ask you what questions might be coming up. What might you be thinking about as you're hearing me talk? And what suggestions would you have to improve this?
Can I ask?
Yeah.
For the teams, are they working in individually, or are they working in a couple of them, or all of them together? How does it work?
I'm going to leave that up to the teams, because some individuals, right, depending on the age and depending on how confident they feel about doing this, might decide, no, I can do this. I'm going to run with it. Some might actually like to work with others. So when I start working with them through those training sessions, we will decide, and I'm going to give them the autonomy to do that. So if they have a friend and they want to work with somebody, go for it, right? And if they prefer to just do it by themselves, totally fine as well. But even if they're doing it by themselves, we are constantly going to be communicating with each other. So it's not going to be an isolating experience. Like, before they go out and sit down and talk to the person, we will know exactly what they're going to be doing. So I'll give them the choice.
I'm mostly asking for my role as a teacher. Like you said, that we are going to be managing the interviewees and people who are going to get interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So what is expected if they each decide that they want to do it individually? So does it mean that we need to come up with that many people to interview? I mean, separate people, or are they asking the same? Are they kind of doing the same interview but different take on it? How does that work?
Yes. So the interview will be standardized. So they will be asking the same questions. They will be asking the similar questions, right, from all their participants. That's why the theme will be there. Once we have that theme, right, we want to know stories of movement. And so based on that, I, along with all the youth who are doing this project, will come up with a set of questions that they're going to ask. So, as the teachers, you don't have to worry about what they're going to ask. And in fact, I will also be working with them a little bit more individually, because some might prefer to just let's do a sit down interview, right? Let's sit down and I'm going to ask these questions. But for some youth, they're very creative, and they might actually prefer to do something a little bit different. Like, one of the things that we've done in the past is a kind of artifact interview, right? So you get your participants to talk not just about their life stories, but about different artifacts in their life that have real meaning. And so all of that, I will manage all of that with the young people. I will need help with is because like I said, identifying individuals. So yes, most of the times the youth themselves will be able to find someone, and most of their own family members will have these stories. That's the beauty of our community. But if they don't, then I think we'll have to work together to kind of find them, whoever it is that they are thinking about working with.
Okay. Thank you.
And will part of the training involve teaching them how to redirect or contain the question if it starts going off on a tangent that's not necessarily related to topic or question?
Yes,
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I teach a whole course on qualitative research, and that's the whole goal, is how do you structure questions that are open-ended, but how do you, what's the process of conducting an interview in the moment where you're not, having leading questions, where you know how to contain the questions. So yes, we will be talking about all of those
Yeah, I
things.
sort of imagine just with the younger children and then the older people and trying to maintain respect, but not letting them go off on a tangent that's not, going to be too much information that we
Yeah.
can't.
And that's why I think we have to keep it a little bit narrower with our high schoolers and maybe late middle schoolers. Anything younger than that becomes a little difficult for the kid to manage it, especially because you have to think in the moment. You have to know how to rephrase, you have to know how to do those things. And so that's the reason why I'm thinking high school, late middle school is the perfect age to do this. But if we have younger kids who are interested, I don't want to say no. So maybe they could be working with an older kid or something, and we can work with that as well. And I'm happy to work with like individual organizations individually with each one of you as well, as we start thinking about the students and what each one wants to do. They have to leave this project feeling really good about it, because then they're going to go and tell the next group of kids and say, this was really fun, that you should do it. So
yeah. And I mean, I'm going to be talking to the teens this weekend. How much of the time or how many meetings are they going to have for the training, the logistic part of it, the summer part of it?
Yeah, 4. I'm envisioning, and I've actually given dates here as well. So you'll even be able to see that in our Canvas site. I have a page that says teacher responsibilities, and I'm going to put a page that says youth training. But you will be able to see that I have put the youth orientation is next weekend, but after that, there will be 4 training sessions. So 1 weekend in May, Saturday, Sunday, and then 1 weekend in June, Saturday, Sunday. Those will be where we train everybody all together. And so those are the trainings that I would like them to be part of. And again, if they can't make it on those days, I think we have different timings, morning and evening. But if they can't make it, I'm here to kind of work with them one-on-one as well. So you don't have to worry about it. But it's nice to have all of them together so they get to know each other, especially next weekend. I want the California kids to talk to the Chicago kids and, kind of create a group that's doing all this together. So it's there. And even in the modules itself, you'll see I've put a different module for each of the training sessions. So you'll know exactly the date and, what each of the training sessions will be all about as well.
Versus, this is Ava. Sorry if I missed this point. I'm not sure if you mentioned it. And I really love the idea of you, training the kids how to interview, because it wouldn't have even occurred to me, because we're thinking from an adult point of view. We're thinking, oh, we know how to handle it. But of course, they're young children, and this is kind of maybe a first big task for them in this capacity. But what I guess I wanted to know is, I know you had mentioned that, we may have to help finding the people that they would interview. How many people were you expecting each child to interview? Is it like just a 1 interview per child, or?
Yes, 1. That's all I'm expecting. They can do more if they like to, but I'm just expecting 1. Because like I said, right, we already have about 20, 25 kids who've raised their hand. That means we already have, 20, 25 interviews. That's
right.
So yeah, just 1 is enough. That's why from a time commitment standpoint, it's those 4 trainings that they have to be part of. And then it's the interview that they have to conduct. But I'll talk to them about the fact that they may not want to do just like 1 interview. They might decide to they should meet with their interviewee once before the interview, just like get a sense. And again, this is all part of their training, right? So get a sense of that person's story, then do a little more research about that, and then go back and talk to that person, right? So really from a time commitment standpoint, it's 4 trainings, 1 or 2 interviews, and then as much time as they would like to spend on things like archiving and transcribing, but we have others who will be doing that as well. So it's time intensive.
It's not too, okay. And it can be anyone of their choosing, just as long as they've kind of migrated from somewhere to, I guess, America, and kind of their journey, because that's the kind of unique interviewer we're looking at, right? Am I understanding you correctly?
Perfectly, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely perfectly. And again, we let them be creative with it. That's why this is not an academic enterprise. If this was something that I was doing for my college, it would be like, no, you've got to kind of ask these questions and do it this way. But we're going to let them be creative with this, because my hope is that then some of them at least will kind of go and say, okay, here's 20 interviewers. What are the themes that we found in all of them? Like, how can we put it together so that it can be disseminated in a way that, the general public learns about this as well. And again, this is not everybody has to do that. Some might and some might not, and that's totally fine. But you're absolutely right. It'll be around that theme.
And Persis, are you going to come up, are they going to come up with these questions to interview in the training time, in the training classes? Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. I will be leading that. So I will be the one who will lead that particular training with them. And I will, by the time they leave it, they will have a full set of questions that they should be asking. They should be asking all their participants, and then they might want to ask more depending on what they learn about their participants.
Can I, as a teacher, attend these sessions? I learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I will encourage all teachers to attend it so that you know exactly what's going on, and then you all can kind of talk about it, or even informally, right, during classes, and kind of just reinforce what's happening. So yes, absolutely. I would be grateful, in fact, if you would attend those. And then again, like I said, the materials will all be on Canvas, so you will have access to those materials as well.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be sending us that website?
Yes, I'm going to add you right now. So if you could just put your email address and your full name in the chat box, I will go ahead and add you to the site, and then you will get an email from Canvas saying, please log in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
And to log in, we have to give our own, we have to create an account, or is it like,
Yes,
you give us a password?
You'll have to create an account, but it's free, and Canvas will not ask you for any information. So all you will have to do is use your whatever Gmail account or whatever account that you have, just use that as your login and then make a password. That's it.
Persis, I have a question. So for the students who wants to do the project, how many training session classes do they, I don't know if I missed it, you said or not, but how many sessions should they expect to have with you?
5 before the end of June. So I'm going to meet with them next weekend.
Yes.
Where we just get to know each other, and I'll introduce the project to them. And then after that, there will be 2 in May. It'll be the same weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And then there'll be 2 in June, same weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So 5 altogether.
Okay. And the timeline for them to start their interviews work will be after the meetings? Yeah, July.
I'm envisioning July, August, September, whenever they would like. After June, after we've kind of feel ready to do this.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, there's no rush. There's no deadline. This is our project. But I do want it to be done. Hopefully, if we can be done by this time next year, like by Navroz of next year, I envision this being something that so many of us could be using at our community centers, like for, functions, events, things like that as well. And so 1 year, that's the time I'm giving us for this particular theme.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Persis, I have one more question about the, you had asked one of the students to be sort of a leader of this student participants. So how did you envision that person sort of leading the other students?
I envision them working more with me than anything else, because then I can have somebody who is a liaison between, the whole group of kids and me, so that if I need to kind of just send out things like that, I mean, I'm sure I can do it. But again, this is just yet another way in which, some of the kids can take a little bit more of a leadership role, especially if they're older and they want to do this. There's really there isn't like, oh, you absolutely need to have it. But if you have somebody who would like to be in that role and you'd like to encourage them, then, give me that name, and then I will liaison through them with everybody.
Okay.
Should we ask them who wants to be a leader, or do we just leave it? I mean, we give it to you and leave it to you to approach them individually, or?
However you like. I'm willing to work with you, Mandana. So whether you know your kids, you know your students, if you feel that you can just, ask them and one of them would step up and then just let me know the name. If you want me to ask them, I'll work with them and find out as well. When I meet them next week, I might say, okay, can I have one liaison from every single city that's being represented here, who I can kind of just get together and, they can be a little bit more supervising it even a little bit more, and be the liaison between you and me.
Persis, I have a little bit of a odd request of you. I was wondering because, like we all are so busy and I've been trying to give my best, but I've had a lot of family issues going on. This is Ava, by the way.
Yes.
So my point is this meeting is extremely helpful, seeing you guys, and getting this project on the ground, which I think is super important. And I really, really cherish being part of it. Thank you for that. Oh, my request is, I was wondering, I know the vibe that you were requesting for this project is it to be student run, which I understand. And kind of the teachers are in the background, kind of making sure everything's okay once the leaders have everything going. But I was just wondering, for next, I think it's the 15th or the 16th meeting, would I be able to join, just so I understand the all-encompassing kind of what the students are asking you, what you're teaching the students? Can I be part of that? Like, I don't want to interfere or nothing like that. I just want to get more understanding of this project. That's all.
No, Ava, absolutely. In fact, that's what I was saying is, please, I'm going to kind of encourage you all to please attend all the trainings that the youth will get, so that we're all on the same page and so that I can get help, as much as possible. So I will definitely encourage you all. Just, I won't put you in a breakout room with them. So, so that they can kind of do their thing.
Of course. No, I just want to know initially, so we're all on, because I know that my leader has been asking me questions. So I'm like, I just want to be able to advise her correctly based on this meeting and then the next one,
That's why I wanted to talk with the teachers first, because I'm like, I need help. Like, as much as I would love to do everything, I don't think I can manage this whole thing by myself. And so if you all can please attend and please be part of like everything in the project. And then, I mean, after that, like next year, right? That means maybe, I don't even have to do that. Like, y'all can be leading it years and years and years from now. So yes, please attend.
Thank you.
Right. That's what I have for, that's what I wanted to think about today. I think Artemis and I are both available, of course, anytime. But I'm looking forward to meeting the young people next weekend. Oh, I did have one little request. So I know that we mentioned that Saturday 15th is the day when we are going to be meeting with the youth next weekend. But I have just been informed that I have a little bit of a conflict. Oh, Artemis, I think we are done. Do you want to stop the recording? Thanks. So I have just been informed that,